And good morning. Welcome to another Super Galactic Saturday. We are live with Jerry Sr. and Jerry Jr.
Good morning.
And it's another beautiful day in Southern California. I'm back from out of town. I was in
And
Hawaii
you
for
went
a
to
bit.
Hawaii without me.
Yeah, I did. I had to get away from you, and de-stress. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
But
understandable.
but yeah, it was wonderful. Weather was beautiful. That was my first time, so it was great, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to go, and I'm thankful I made it back safe and sound. And
Absolutely.
the weather's great here, and it's looking beautiful outside. We had some overcast, but now it's gone. So, and as the saying goes, any day above ground is a good day, and today is definitely a good day.
Absolutely. So, fun fact my dad, uh, like about 40 years too late, learned about the origin of the
Yeah,
Kamehameha wave from the Dragon Ball series.
that's right. I actually
So,
saw it. I saw a statue, and then there's some plaques right at the shopping center.
yeah,
And I'm like, wait a minute, that name sounds familiar. Yeah,
right. So,
and
if you
yeah,
guys don't know, the Kamehameha from Dragon Ball was named after the real Hawaiian king, Kamehameha the First. That wasn't his real name. That was a title given to him.
yeah, that's right.
Kamehameha in Hawaii means the lonely one
Lonely.
or the
That's
one set apart,
right.
and which happens to coincide with Master Roshi being the turtle hermit. He's a little hermit, right? But turtle in or kame in Japanese means turtle, and ha in Japanese means wave, right? So it's sort of a double entendre in two languages.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating? I love
Yeah.
how that works. That's so cool.
Yeah, it
Right.
was actually recommended. Toriyama actually got the idea from his wife because he's like, I don't know what to name the attack.
That's funny. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And when I saw that, I'm just like, yo, let me. That's why I sent it to you guys on. Let me confirm this.
Yeah, he sent it. I was like, yeah, you know
Yeah, let me
that?
confirm this because this. And actually, I remember you mentioned it to me years ago,
Yeah, I
and
was like
maybe I
middle
kind of
school.
forgot. Yeah, kind of forgot about it. And then when I saw it
It's
there,
okay.
real time 4K, I'm like, yo, that's significant. Let me take a picture of that because I'm like, I bet you there is a correlation, and there is, and
Yeah.
it's pretty
No, it
cool.
was cool that you
You
saw
know,
like real
the,
flags. So.
and the whole story is quite awesome, like of how he became the king of the Hawaiian Islands, how he
Oh,
conquered
really?
the other islands, and it's really cool. So that's something we could explore another time, but
I have to do that. Yeah,
it's really beautiful, and yeah, it's awesome. Like, and it's so funny because Hawaii has a lot of mythology within itself,
for sure. Yeah,
and and much of it, right? Much of these stories, from what I learned, ties all the way back to current day. So we're we're doing a tour, we're driving around, we're looking at these different sites, and it's like, well, Hawaii has a lot of cattle ranches, and we heard the story about how all that came to be because cattle, aren't natural animals of the islands.
right,
So
right, right,
they were brought over. So we talked about how that was a lot of what you see in Hawaii was brought in from somewhere else. Like
right,
from foliage and plant life, trees, etc. Even certain species of animals, certain bird life, and it's like, and of course cattle was brought from somewhere else for whatever reason. And it remains to this day as part of the Hawaiian history and culture. So it's quite fascinating. So we get, like pineapples aren't native to Hawaii, and coconut, and but
right,
yet
right.
they flourish and grow there
Well,
abundantly.
it's funny you mentioned that. The Hawaiian pizza, quote unquote, I believe was invented in Canada. It was a
Right,
Hawaiian pizza.
exactly. That's why it's also called Canadian pizza because it's
Yeah,
not
pizza.
essentially Hawaiian. Yeah, but you understand, it's like little things like that. It's so fascinating. And man, it was a lot of fun. So, but that was a cool moment right there. I'm like, oh, look at that! Like, yo, I feel like I'm a super smart, culturally adept old guy.
Yeah, you're woke. You're woke. Congratulations.
Yeah. So,
Also, shout out to this artist, Emily. She drew this on. King Kamehameha Day. This is
Oh, that's awesome.
this is King Kamehameha doing the Kamehameha.
Yeah, that's awesome. I
So
love it.
shout out to this artist,
Yeah,
Emily.
beautiful, beautiful.
So
Listen, man, yeah, this is cool stuff. So it put Dragon Ball on a whole new level in my mind. Like, yo, Dragon Ball is legendary.
yeah, there's a lot of cool cultural reference. One of the things I enjoy about being a fan of different stuff is looking into the origins of a lot of or looking towards the looking at the inspiration to a lot of my favorite creators, like
Yeah,
what inspired them. And Akira Toriyama is a student of pop culture. A lot of mangaka are, but Akira Toriyama especially. Dragon Ball. You wouldn't have Dragon Ball without Jackie Chan, right? Or Bruce Lee, especially Jackie Chan, though, right? You wouldn't
right.
have, but it also works, in reverse, right? You wouldn't have One Piece or Naruto or Bleach or any of these popular anime without Dragon Ball. So it's pretty see what inspires your heroes, the people you take inspiration from. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty, and especially doing it from a very significant historical character. That's yeah, I like
yeah,
that. So,
absolutely.
yeah, that was a cool little tidbit to learn, and that's awesome.
Speaking of creators, you actually were telling me about a new comic that you got from WonderCon.
Yeah. So before we mentioned that, went to WonderCon and met a lot of great artists, great writers, great people in general. But one in particular that stood out to me is something called Zujitsu Fighters, and it's a series, a comic book series, and it's also a toy line.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
I don't
actually
think you mentioned that before.
yeah, it's a toy line, and because it's produced by a small company that does they do toys and action figures and apparel for other IPs, right? So they're like, hey, why don't we do our own, and kind of have our own IP that we can, make money from and all that good
So
stuff.
right off the bat, you know what this reminds me of?
What?
You may not play it, but King from Tekken,
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I see that.
the
Yeah.
the wrestler with the Jaguar mask.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, that's a good point actually. And but listen, the thing that caught my eye was the art.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Look at those covers. Like it went from this. They had a huge banner of I think the cover on the right, and it just jumped out. Like, yo, that looks really awesome. Just nice, hyper realistic, art style. And so I decided to check it out, and I got a couple of books. So I actually got issue 1 and 2. Um, and what's what was available at the time. The issue 3, I think, is still in the works or it's coming out.
Oh, okay.
So, but so far, I have to give it, like if I had to rate it, right, 1 to 10, I would give it a solid like 8.
Okay. Well,
It's
so what's the premise of Zujutsu?
so the premise is basically uh, they're zoo animals that have been, I guess you could say, genetically enhanced to become fighters. So
Oh, yeah,
they're human.
genetically enhanced
Yeah.
ninjutsu
So
animals are tight.
yeah, yeah. So it's a world where they're taking zoo animals and they're obviously make anthropomorphize them. They're making them humanoid chimeras, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And then they're training them to be martial artists. They're doing jujitsu, right? They call it zujitsu for obvious reasons. And it's literally a zoo. It's all based in these different zoos. And from what I read, there's multiple locations, right? There's multiple zoos that are doing this, right? And but they're kind of like slaves, they're not necessarily fighting on their own, of their own volition. They're fighting because the humans compel them to fight, right? It's for sport, and so it's apparently big entertainment, big, big money. So in the way they're treated, it's kind of interesting. Like in issue 1, they introduce us to um, one of the main characters, which is the one of the tigers, right? And he's like one of the best fighters, and it goes by clans. So it's like Tiger Clan, uh, Hippo Clan, Elephant Clan, et cetera, right? And the clans are pitted against each other to fight, right? Um, and so generally, you're going to see at the beginning the tigers and basically they're all the felines, right? But it's mainly just tigers. I was waiting to see a lion, but I'm wondering if they're holding on to that for another issue or something. Like maybe there's a whole separate like lion tribe, right? But for now, they're all tigers, and they're kind of they live together and all this stuff. And it's kind of interesting. The tone is at first you think it's going to be kind of just fun, right? And it is fun, but it is a bit dark too. Right, like there's a scene in the first issue, right, where one of the main tiger character, he fights against the hippo guy, and there and it's funny because they start off, you can tell like there's a camaraderie, right? So they're not like mortal enemies against each other. So the
Yeah, that makes
hippo
sense. Yeah.
and the tiger are actually kind of joking around. They kind of like the scene you saw where their silhouettes are standing there, and they're actually like kind of bantering back and forth, and so they're like, yeah, all right, another fight, another day, another dollar type of thing, right? And they respect each other. They're like honorable, just like the martial art itself, right? It's about honor and respect, and
Right. Yeah.
a noble warrior, and so that's how they address each other. But then they go out and they try to savagely kill each other. So and then there's like the idea of the tournament itself is you fight, but then if by some mysterious judge, I don't know who it is, but if he throws a dagger into the ring, then you have to fight to the death.
Is this the
No,
mysterious?
it's not him. He's just the announcer.
Oh, okay. I was about to say he does not look very mysterious. He looks
Yeah, and exactly how he
honestly.
looks, he's cheesy. The whole thing, whole
Yeah,
package.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And but yeah, if someone throws, they don't really show who does it though. But if they throw a dagger into the ring, you have to fight to the death. And so they actually make that comment
Oh wow.
between each other, like, yeah, let's hope we don't get a dagger today, that kind of thing, right? And so, of course, he wins. I'm trying to remember. I think his name was Tiago. I think that's what it is. The main
Yeah,
tiger character,
Tiago.
and he wins the fight, and he's like the best fighter, And it's funny because there's a scene where another tiger, he's a panther actually, and he's on the toilet. They literally show him on the toilet reading. He's not even reading. He's like, "Hey, can someone pass me some toilet paper?" Right. This is a scene, right?
What the heck?
And they throw him a book, and like, "I just use this," right? And he's like, I guess so. And he rips out the pages, and it's Animal Farm. The book is Animal Farm. So
What?
I'm like, okay, there's some messaging here.
Yeah.
there's,
Okay.
there's some messaging because in Animal Farm, one of the key sort of tenets is that all animals are equal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it changes over time, over the course of
So
the story,
some
right?
animals
Some
are
animals
more
are more
equal
equal than
than
others,
others.
etc.
Yeah.
Right? So it's kind of interesting. It's like, oh, and obviously here they're not only animals, right, but they're slaves. They're slaves to the humans.
So
Uh,
right off the bat, so the story from what I just read and what you're saying, it sounds interesting. It sounds
it is. It's fascinating and it's intriguing, and it moves pretty fast too.
yeah.
You're going to get a good idea of sort of the world. Like there's some instances where he has a girlfriend, she's a tigress or whatever, right? And but they can't actually be together. They're not allowed to have relationships, so they're sneaking around to be together, and so things like that, and that's kind of part of where the plot thickens, so to speak, where something happens and he has to fight. They end up pitting Tiago against his one of his own clan, which is the Panther, and
Ah,
they're
okay.
they're like close buddies, right? So now, not only do they have to fight, but they have to fight to the death. A dagger is thrown into the ring,
Gotcha.
and so
So
now
one,
you got to find out what's gonna, are they gonna fight? Or is who's gonna win?
right.
Are they gonna resist? What's gonna happen? So
Okay. So one nitpick I'll make, and it is a nitpick, but is because I just read that obviously a shout out to Patrick Wang. So it looks like he is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu
Yeah,
enthusiast.
the people that wrote this are martial artists.
So that is cool.
Yeah,
I do like that. I found it weird that all of the animals just do like the same martial art, or it looks like it's
yeah,
like
it's all
which
zujitsu.
is fine. I
That's the
guess
now that
being
doesn't mean that there because they mention by the second issue that there are other locations. So it's
hmm
possible that at another zoo, maybe they're wrestling, or they're
so
doing
that's what I was going to get to.
karate.
I hope because I know it's only two issues. Is that I hope in the future they take the opportunity. Maybe this is just I play a lot of fighting games, but it would have been interesting to get like a situation like if anyone's ever played a Bloody Roar, it was a 3D fighting game where like people turned into like animals, like were animals. Like the main character was like a werewolf. There was another. There was like a kung fu guy that turned into a tiger, turned to a bunny, whatever. But they all had different martial arts styles. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
think it would be cool. It would be cool to see like maybe the animals take on specific martial arts according to their build or even country of origin, right?
That would
So
be
maybe,
interesting.
so
Yeah.
maybe maybe there's a tiger that does tiger style kung fu. Maybe there's a hippo that does African wrestling because that's a thing in West Africa.
Right. That's a good point.
There
I
was
mean,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
they didn't give us enough information, so the jury's out. I mean, I
That's
hope
fine.
they
It's
do
only
better.
issue two. I just think
Yeah,
that'll be a neat
yeah,
opportunity.
that would be. But yeah, it's created by Patrick Wayne. The stories by Christopher Long,
Oh,
and
nice.
the pencils and inks are by Jefferson Sadzinski. Yeah, I say his name right. Colors by Guillermo Lindenberg Mendez, and letters by Justin Birch. And I believe all of these guys are martial artists. Like they either they dabble in it. So they know what they're talking about, right? And like I said, from the pages are really nicely done. The fight scenes are really cool. The moves look believable. They have great angles, and like I said, it's also a toy line. They have action figures
Yeah, I'm
based on
looking at the action
yeah,
figures.
and they look really awesome as well.
Well, I think it's funny that I made a joke about it earlier, but it's so funny how we've got so many different series that are just let's mutate animals so they can do martial arts, right? Ninja Turtles, um,
Yeah, yeah,
the Cheetah Men, was it Biker Mice from
yeah.
Mars?
From Mars, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Street sharks.
Sagio
Street
Jimbo,
sharks are just thugs, I guess. Right?
yeah, Street Sharks. Like
Biker.
we love mutating animals so they can
Yeah, I
learn
mean
martial arts.
it's fun. It's fun, and
So
this
it
is
is fun.
I think this is another fun iteration. I think, and the publisher's Icon Heroes. That's what they're called. So go to Icon
Okay.
Heroes, or you can do Zujutsu Fighters. I think.
Yeah, so I'm on their website, jujitsufighters.com,
Yeah,
and it has a link to everything the
yeah, and
apparel,
yeah,
the
they
action
got
figures.
they're doing the whole thing, and it was a Kickstarter, and it was a successful Kickstarter for the comics, and then they went on to do the action figures and the apparel. That was outside of Kickstarter. That's just through their own company. So, and they've had some success with the books and everything. They've been featured on different news programs and all that. So they got some momentum, and hopefully, I wish them well because this is really fun. It's a great idea. My only thing is the story moves fast, and I would like to see something that goes a little more layered with the character developments, like with Tiago and the tigress that he's in love with, right? To see that develop more, like what what's their connection? Like, why is it just that she's the only female? Why isn't there a love triangle with other tigers where they're all kind of fighting for the same girl, that kind of stuff. Like there's are there other female tigers and all this kind of stuff. Like I would like a little more
Well,
drama. I'll put it that
I'm
way.
sure. I'm sure they'll get into that. I mean, it's only
Yeah,
issue
that's
two.
yeah, issue, but like I said, it moves fast. So I don't want to give away the plot, but it gets pretty intense really quickly. You know,
Okay.
lives are lost. I'll put it that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because like I said, they're slaves. So
Yeah,
just
yeah.
put in think of
It's like Hunger Games,
not,
but with
no,
Ninja
not Hunger
Turtles
Games. I was gonna say like
or
Spartan.
Gladiator.
Yeah, Gladiator. That's what I was trying to think of. Spartans or Gladiators, something along those lines,
Yeah,
where
Gladiators.
where
Yeah,
they fight to survive, but the first chance they get, they're gonna, you
yeah.
know.
It's the war planet from what's the Mongol. Uh,
Yeah, and but it's supposed to be our world. It's but this is it made me think of Inglorious Rex by Shane Davis. He's doing that. He's on issue 3 himself with that series,
oh,
and
nice.
it's like Glorious Rex is like a hyper futuristic example of Zujitsu fighters, right?
Mm,
It's different in a lot of ways, but it's like it's still non-human combatants,
right.
right? They're just genetically built creatures. They don't define as anything in a zoo, but they are creatures. They're non-human, and they're pitted against each other to fight. But they're controlled by their human captains, right? Here, the animals have their own agency, but they're still compelled to fight each other because they really don't have any other choice. That's what they were created for, right? But obviously, that leads to because they are sentient and they do have self awareness. They're like there has to be more than just this, right? And then, like I said, Tiago falls in love, and that love gets jeopardized. I'll put it that way. You understand? It's like it's very human in that sense, right? It's like yeah, that makes sense. It's like you're gonna fall in love or be attached to someone, have friendships, and then when that gets disrupted, what are you gonna do about it, right? Is it worth risking it all, right? So, and that's kind of the question you're left with after issue 2, right? Is
Right.
how far are you willing to go for for who you love and what you love?
Do we have a date for when issue three is going to come out?
Unfortunately, I do not. Um, like I said, I don't know if it's on the site, if they announced it on the site, but
Well, that's all right.
yeah, I don't have a date, but I'm sure they're working on it, right?
Oh, there's the dagger. Okay.
Yeah. The dagger is like fight to the death, and that's what happens in the issue 2. They end up pitting Tiago against one of his fellow brother tigers, right?
Right, right, right.
Kind of like right? So
So I'll have to check it out. You have issue one and two, right?
yeah, 1 and 2.
Okay. And if you guys let us know if there are any Zujitsu fans out there, let us know what you guys think. And
Yeah, let us know
so,
have you got any of the action figures? Like what do you how
no,
do you
that's true. Yeah, what are the quality of the action figures? Did you get some for your kids?
yeah yeah because I thought that was pretty awesome actually that
Yeah.
you know and they look really really nice. They're fully posable, all that stuff. So, but yeah,
So I'll have to check this one out.
yeah,
We're going to
definitely.
try to make sure we share a lot more of the comics that we got from different conventions because we like to support. We try to support these different artists. So,
Yeah, definitely. And next time I'm gonna talk about another series called Black Falcon and Sidekick.
oh yeah, I saw that one on
Yeah,
your desk. It looked cool.
yeah, it is. So I'm still reading it. I got issues 1 through 3, so I'm
Mm,
gonna check those out. And yeah, I'll give you an update next time. So
that's awesome. Speaking of updates, I've gotten the best update this morning. Uh, Definitely saved my week.
oh
So,
yeah, here we go.
oh yeah. So,
I know
uh,
what you're gonna talk about.
you already know that I am a big fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Have you seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Dad?
I've seen seasons 1 through 4.
Okay, that's
No,
pretty
five.
good.
Five. One
Oh,
through
so
five.
you did see five.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty good. Honestly, You don't need. I mean, I would still recommend watch six, but what's so great about this is that you don't. You could start off fresh with this one, and I'll explain why after we watch the trailer. Here we go.
Let's do it.
Oh man,
Steel Ball Run.
I pray for times like this.
Now,
It's finally here.
this is where my confusion happens, right? You say it's a reboot.
Yeah. So for context, so part six was the official ending to the original line of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure by Hirohito Araki. I
Right.
think Stone Ocean came out in when did the original manga come out? Not the anime. The original manga came out in December of 1999, and it ended in 2003. So 2003 was the original, was when the manga, the original JoJo manga ended.
Hmm.
And after that, Araki started a new series called Steel Ball Run in 2004, January 2004. Now, from my understanding, and any fellow JoJo heads, correct me if I'm wrong, it didn't originally start off as part of the the JoJo series. It was its own story, but it obviously it used a lot of elements from the previous manga, and eventually, it just got branded as part of you know JoJo's Bizarre Adventure uh, later on. But it features a lot of the same character names, just in different settings, right? So you'll recognize there's a Jonathan Joestar, there's a Zappelli, right? Just in
Yeah.
a different context. And there's going to be a lot of elements. Basically, part seven takes elements from parts one through three and mashes it all into one story. And it does it pretty well. It's pretty epic. I believe part seven is the highest rated chapter in the JoJo series. So people were looking forward to this. A, because I mean, this was considered the peak of Hirohiko Araki's art style.
Yeah.
Like the artwork is phenomenal. He's a great artist. I believe he's the only mangaka that features art in the Louvre in France.
Yeah, that's right.
So it is a big deal that they're trying to animate this because it looks insane in the manga. Um, and so I have no idea what it's going to look like animated. It's going to look nuts. But yeah, I mean, so far it already does. But yeah, um, but also, if I don't know if the title reminds you of anything, Dad, like a movie of sorts.
Dragon Ball. I just said Dragon Ball. Cannonball Run.
Yeah, Cannonball Run. So this is a direct reference to the movie Cannonball Run, which was in turn based on the famous Cannonball Baker Sea to Shining Sea Memorial Trophy Dash, which was an official race that took place in was it
Yeah.
the 70s.
Yeah, I remember
And
that movie. Burt Reynolds, Sally Fields. Yeah.
yeah, so this is basically Cannonball Run, but in the Old West.
That sounds cool. I like that.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it gets insane, right? Like I'm a firm believer that you can't spoil JoJo because you can't predict what's happening. You just can't. Um,
Yeah, I learned that the hard way.
yeah. All right. Let me like it's there's dinosaurs, Dad. Dinosaurs.
So okay, that all sounds awesome, but it still doesn't sound like a reboot.
Well,
So
so here's the thing,
is
though.
it that
If you
they go back
remember,
in time somehow, or like what's, or is this something that happens parallel to the
this
the
happens with
canon
us. This is a
JoJo
separate
story?
continuity.
That's what I mean. Like it, so it happens in parallel to the original continuity. Is that how
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
okay? So these are different characters, or are
These
these?
are different characters. This is an alternate universe. So you know how?
Oh, so it's just an alternate timeline.
Yes.
Oh, got it. Okay, that's
Yeah.
fascinating. All right.
So you know how Jonathan Joestar, the original Jonathan Joestar,
Yeah.
was. He's British because it took place during Victoria, England.
Right.
So this Jonathan Joestar, aka Johnny Joestar, is American, and he's you know wealthy son of a rich tycoon. He's a former horse racer from Kentucky, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So he and I'll say this: he's not as gentlemanly as Jonathan Joestar. He's actually kind of a big jerk. That's part of his whole character
Oh,
arc.
okay. So it's going to be interesting from the jump,
Yeah.
because that was my frustration with the original JoJo first season. It was getting past like the first couple of episodes where it's
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, he was getting them.
I mean, yeah, yes. Well,
I
that's
was like,
because he was
oh,
kind
like,
of a
fight back. Like Dio was a complete jerk.
yeah.
Like
That's literally the
hit
first
him,
episode,
yell
though.
at him, something. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, but all that gets resolved in the first episode. But regardless, yeah, he
yeah,
is.
it was still kind of like I can't finish this. This is so annoying.
I don't know. You're just waiting for him to
And his dad was so clueless.
man
Like
up.
JoJo.
That is true. Yeah, the
I
dad
was
was
like,
good.
bro,
No, no, no. So the dynamic between Johnny and his father in this is very different than uh, Jonathan and his dad. His dad kind of hates him in this one. Well, not kind of hates him. He disowns him,
oh wow,
and it has to do with an accident. Um, and so a big part of Johnny's character arc. Also, he's paralyzed. So what happened? I'm naming a bunch of stuff.
his dad is paralyzed.
No, so Johnny, so he's a former horse racer who got into an accident and was paralyzed from the waist down. And I think,
Oh wow,
in a similar accident, uh, his brother died. He had a brother in this one who died, and so his father blames Johnny for his death, and he disowns him, and so his life kind of spirals out of control. And so uh, he enters the race to try to sort of get back his former glory and stuff like that. But also because he meets a man named Zappelli. And so in this Zappelli uh, is he's similar to the Zappelli that you met, or he becomes sort of a mentor to Joestar, and he teaches him the ripple. Well, it's not the ripple in this one; it's the spin, and which is essentially just it's the ripple. But he enters the race in order to he's trying to free he's trying to basically he's he's an he's an executioner from Naples who entered the race in order to free someone who was wrongly convicted of a crime.
okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So are we gonna get the Speedwagon Foundation and all that kind of stuff?
uh that I don't here's the thing, I actually have not finished reading
Okay,
um
all right. Okay, so no need to spoil
Silvana.
it. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
But I'm just telling you what I know. That's kind of the setup. So they meet
yeah.
each other and they team up to
All right.
win the
So
race.
so that means I gotta finish up 6 and 7 because
Well, here's the thing: you've watched parts 1 through
I mean
3.
5 and 6. So.
I mean, you should definitely finish 5. So, but that's the thing: you could just start the show, even if you haven't watched
right, because it's an alternate universe. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's not
but also
necessarily
you would still appreciate it because you've already watched 1 through 3, so you're going to see a lot of similarities. You know,
okay. And I
and
really
also
like 1 through 3. Actually, 1 through 4.
4 is my favorite part.
Yeah, is just actually, yeah, 1 through 4. I mean, are probably, in my opinion, the best. Um, and
I agree.
4 is like phenomenal.
Yeah,
And what I like it is the reason why I like it is because everything happens in a small town.
yeah, yeah,
Like nothing like with all the first 3, they're kind of all over the world and stuff, and there's exotic places.
yeah.
Uh, but in 4, it's all in this one town, and it was really awesome because so much happened, right? And the stories were just felt more like, I don't even want to say grounded, but like the character development was really good, right? And
I agree.
got to get into like other characters besides JoJo, and that was fun. It was, especially the story arc with the ghost, the ghost alley and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was just very satisfying, actually. Especially once they defeated, you know, um, the big bad or whatever. It also resolved the ghost issue, right? Like
Right.
it was just really smart. So I just
Well,
thought, yeah,
what I liked about part 4 was that they formed the community. You got to meet the community first. So when the
yeah,
big
that's true.
bad guy,
Exactly right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And some of the
came
characters
to
were
fruition,
unexpectedly likable, like the nerdy one. I forgot his stand, but it was like the
is he the
little
artist?
um,
Oh, the short guy.
yeah, the short guy.
Oh, Koichi. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Uh,
surprised me a lot.
Echoes.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, he surprised me a lot. So that was cool.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
that
what
was
made
great.
it, yeah, very satisfying. There was a lot of surprise characters where you're like, oh, I like this guy.
Like,
Like he's pretty cool.
like that. Like, look at this artwork. Like, look at this artwork.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean, truth be told, it's all beautiful. I mean, it's all really,
look at this. This is a manga
especially
panel.
reading his story and how he came about developing JoJo and
Yeah,
the years he spent practicing and submitting and being rejected. And
absolutely.
it's that in itself is a fascinating story to
Look
read.
at this.
So, and to arrive here where his stuff is featured in galleries, he's
Absolutely.
like part of the fashion world. There's a reason why his characters, it's like there's a fashion sense that's being injected. So like I was kind of messing with you earlier, where I'm like, why does everybody look at woman? European. And I'm
So,
like, I understand. I'm kind of being
well, to get more
facetious.
into
I
that,
mean,
I,
he is like kind of a fashion. He's a fan of high fashion
yeah.
and himself, and his artwork and his designs are appreciated and celebrated in the fashion world, especially in Europe. So
Oh yeah.
it's like it makes sense that some of the characters, especially as the seasons progress, you see even more extreme fashion statements and designs, and so it's kind of like,
So,
yeah, of course,
so
that's
Araki has gone on record talking about two of his big, influences was Italian. He loves Italy, the
yeah,
Italian Renaissance,
that's right,
Italian fashion.
yeah,
Two big artists that you'll find that was inspired by was Antonio Lopez and Tony Vitamontes, and the French artist Paul Gauguin. So, just for example, here's some comparisons between Tony Vitamontes' art, JoJo, right?
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
right off the bat, right
hmm,
off the jump.
yep, yep,
So it's kind of fun. It's kind of funny. So it's really cool.
yeah. I mean, but it's kind of like it follows logic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So
So
it's
it's like, okay, I get
yeah.
it, and he goes in hard.
Like,
That's
look
kind
at
of the
this.
beauty of it. He goes in
We
hard.
got this is one of the most iconic poses in JoJo. Is Dio doing the back thing that
Yeah,
came from this.
yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's actually fascinating to know that. So to know that there's a purpose, like like he has a true passion and love
Oh,
for it, and
absolutely,
he's
yeah.
pouring it into his work. It's like, yeah, I can appreciate
And
that.
what's cool about the JoJo series is that the main characters in JoJo they're very honorable. They're very people
Yeah,
talk about how manly Jonathan is and Jotaro and stuff like that. But even like people like the Zappellis. The Zappellis are badass. You know, they're
Yeah.
some of the most celebrated characters of the series. There's a whole chapter in Steel Ball Run that's called "It's a Man's World." It's a James Brown chapter, Dad.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I mean, it gets pretty intense and like just a lot of the references and stuff like that and the homages to different music and fashion all comes together to create. Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite ones. This one, right here. It creates a really unique experience. Look at the rain. Look at this.
Very nice.
Yeah. So I'm really excited for Steel Ball Run. I have no idea what it's going to look like animated. Um, just because the artwork is like on another level compared to the previous chapters.
Yeah.
And also just a lot of really, I can't stress how much crazy stuff. Like I said, I haven't finished part 7, but like there's a guy, you know what stands dead. There's a guy whose stands is just balloon animals. Just balloon animals.
That's hilarious.
But like, you know, it's terrifying. Like I can't stress it enough. There's a guy who turns things into dinosaurs.
Okay, that's fascinating.
No, you don't understand. Like he could take the hairs on his chitty chin chin individually and they turn into velociraptors.
That's kind of wild. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
I'm looking
it gets nuts.
yeah, that should
Like
be.
you thought stopping time was crazy. Also, of course, the main villain is the president. So you know,
Of
because it's
course it is.
America. Yeah,
Yeah. Of course it is.
but yeah,
Does he have
it's awesome.
orange hair?
No, but no, he does not have orange hair.
Okay. Just checking. You know,
This came out in 2004, Dad.
that don't matter.
But yeah, I'm really excited for Steel Ball Run. I can't stress enough how excited I am. I
Yeah,
think you'll really enjoy this
that's
part.
cool. Yeah, I hope so. That sounds like it would be good.
Yeah. What do you guys think about JoJo? Are you excited for the new show? Do you think they can animate it well?
Are you even a fan of JoJo? Have you seen it at
Yeah.
all? If you haven't, you need to see it. I'm
If you
telling
have, if you have, which who's your favorite stand? What's your favorite stand from Part 6? Uh, Mine is God, what is my favorite stand in Part 6? So far, it is oh, I know who it is. God, what? Hey, yeah. So there's
you.
literally there's an Andre 3000 stand in. That's all
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
say.
mean, it doesn't surprise me after season 3. It was like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I see what's happening. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. All right, cool. Yeah. So good news coming up. That's awesome. Looking forward
Yeah.
to it. And speaking of good news, um, Minecraft. Good news. It's doing well. It's actually making money in the box office. So, which it doesn't really surprise me per se. Um, because there's a huge amount of Minecraft fans, right? Like it's global, right? So, but yeah, they're doing well. Now, Rotten Tomatoes has uh, the tomato meter for reviewers is
Let me get the tomato meter ready.
I have it up here,
Okay.
and for the fans though, right, the popcorn meter is actually a lot better. It's at 88%. So fans are loving it, which, in my opinion, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Is does the audience love it? Are they enjoying it? Are they entertained? So that's 88% out of 5,000 plus verified ratings. 46% is only out of 156. So, you know, and like I said, I personally I never give a lot of weight to the tomato meter. Um, I respect movie reviewers and everything, but Sometimes it's like, to me, I think these studios, they try to grease the wheel somehow. So
Yeah.
now in this case, it doesn't look like if they did, it didn't work. So, but yeah, I mean, audiences are enjoying it. So, and I think because while it's probably not a great story, like it's probably not.
Everybody that so far, I mean, to be fair, I don't know any real life people who went to see the Minecraft movie.
I don't either. Yeah. So, but it's probably not a. I'm looking at it in the same way as I saw Godzilla versus Kong. Right. That
Yeah.
did pretty well. Right. What was it called? Godzilla Kong.
Oh,
New,
Godzilla X Kong, the New
yeah.
Empire.
Yeah. New Empire. Yeah. Like that was a garbage movie. I mean, just like it's the story is kind of dumb. It's not a good movie objectively. Like if you say this story is should have this and this, it doesn't. It's a dumb story, but it's tolerable because all you really want to see is King Kong and Godzilla fight or fight other monsters together. And that's what happens, right? Visually, it's beautiful. It hit enough of the po- key points of a story to keep you invested, right? Like especially the Kong, like for me, the Kong part of the
I mean,
movie.
I still stand by. Yeah, I was gonna say I still stand by the actual when it was just Kong. I think
Yeah, it
was
was actually
great,
really interesting and very, very good, very well done.
I thought the dumber part was just the stuff with all the
With the
people.
humans, with the people,
Yeah.
right? And I think Minecraft is probably falling in that kind of in that lane where no one cares enough about the story for to say, "Oh, this movie's terrible. I'm not going to watch it." Right? It's like, well, they're hitting all the right notes when it comes to the visuals and all the different Minecraft related tropes and iconography, right?
Well, I
And
mean,
I
as
think
far
that's part of why it's doing well, right? Because the fans are going to see it, so they're supporting it already, and then they're enjoying it for what it is, right? And from what I've seen online, there's been several videos shared of theaters where the audience is kind of going wild and watching just different scenes. And I think one, they said someone brought a live chicken for some reason. I guess that's part of
oh yeah,
the tropes in Minecraft. So you
I,
understand, like it's and like we were talking about it last night, and I
uh,
mentioned Rocky Horror Picture Show, and
yeah,
how that was kind of this cult classic, right? It wasn't this. It wasn't objectively. It's not a great movie. It's not like a Hollywood block. It's not, but it goes hard in what it does, right? And a lot. It just resonated with people, and it became this cult classic over time, right?
yeah.
And I think because of the nature of Minecraft, something like a Minecraft, and the virility of the internet, especially, it's probably hitting the same notes, right? Where people are like, I don't care that it's not a great story. It's funny enough, though, right? It has some funny moments, and it's kind of hitting the right notes with kind of what I want to see as a fan, right?
I guess. I mean, I'm
And
to be
I
fair.
think
I'm not
that's
a.
enough to make it do well, right?
I guess. I mean, to be fair. I mean, for being honest, the movie didn't do well because it was a good movie or because
Right.
people
It's what I'm
like the
saying.
movie. The
Exactly.
movie did well because
It's Minecraft.
Minecraft has a well. It's not just that, but I mean, yes, but more specifically, Minecraft has a built-in fan base that's estimated at like
Yeah, it's huge. It's global.
185 million people a month
Yeah,
play
exactly.
Minecraft.
And that's what I'm saying. Like it's it's almost kind of a no brainer, right? Like just have a bunch of stuff happen and call it Minecraft, right? Like put square shaped things in there. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like make it look like Minecraft enough where they're gonna go, all right, I'm at least gonna check it out. So opening weekend, first couple weeks, it's doing very well because they're at least saying I'm willing to go check it out, right? It looks
Yeah,
enough like Minecraft, right? That I'm gonna go at least see it and see if I like it, even if they don't like it. But so far, it's the ratings are generally positive, as you can see. So,
yeah. I
but
don't know. I don't think it will last long just because just from what I've seen from the story, it doesn't seem like there's a. I feel like there's an easy formula they could have taken, but
Yeah.
because they couldn't decide on who the protagonist was. Because you've got five people, but only like two people, or really just the Jason Momoa character, has any real character growth, and like everybody else doesn't really matter. And
Yeah. Yeah.
like people expected to see like Steve, right? Like this is when I say Steve from Minecraft. Yeah, like literally, I didn't even type in from Minecraft. I just typed in Steve. You know how generic of a name Steve is?
Right, but you get the Minecraft
Yeah.
Steve. Yeah.
But like, I just thought that was funny. But
Yeah.
uh,
It's
people say Steve from Minecraft. They think this guy, right?
yeah, yeah.
But instead, we got
You get Jack Black.
Jack Black.
Not only that, but Jack Black as Jack Black. Like he's not
Yeah,
even like why did they create an animated character, Steve, and just have him voice Steve?
yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, you understand because isn't Steve part of the game?
Yeah,
Like I understand the other characters, they're coming from the human world and they're entering the game, right? At least that's my impression is that they're
yeah.
somehow magically transporting to this game. So then why would Steve be human? Why wouldn't he be a Minecraft person?
Yeah, because here's the
You
thing. It's
understand?
like
It makes
I
no
bring that
sense.
up because they're trying to sell these toys.
Right, nobody's buying that.
Who's gonna buy?
Nobody's gonna buy that.
What kid is gonna play with the
No
Jack
kid is gonna.
Minecraft
Adult
action figure?
will buy that as a collector,
Right.
hopes that one day it might be worth money, worth actual have actual
You know
value
what kids play with?
because
They
it's Jack.
play with this, or they just play Minecraft.
Right, or they'll just actually play the game. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of dumb. I don't know. That's the part I don't get. Why would you do a human Steve versus a? Why not have a? It's not like it's impossible, right? You know what I mean? Like you can animate
Uh,
Steve and have Jack Black just voice Steve, and then the humans are just human, right? Like, or even change the humans into Minecraft like people. Why not? I don't know, but whatever. It's doing well. So more power to Minecraft fans. Are you a Minecraft fan? If so, let us know. Comment below. Tell us if you're a fan and if you saw the movie and if you like it. If you found it entertaining. So I'm kind of curious to find out because I'm not a Minecraft person. I've dabbled in it like years ago, but I've never done anything meaningful. Like I've never got into it. So
yeah,
uh,
me neither.
yeah, but it's awesome. I mean, hey, the better movies like this do, the more we'll see. More we'll see more of them, right? Like video game based movies. So that's a good thing that it's doing well. You know, because that means hopefully we'll see. Another Mario Brothers movie, right? A Donkey Kong movie. You know what I mean? So, and that'd be great. So,
Yeah, I mean, we'll
power to
see.
him. Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy it's doing well. Uh, it bodes well for video game fans, right?
I mean,
So,
that's true. Yeah.
um, but yeah, so more good news. Good for Minecraft. Hope it continues to do well. You know. Moving on though to some bad news, right?
Yeah.
uh, well, you want to talk about our favorite marketing consulting company, Sweet Baby Inc.
Well, I specifically don't say it like that, but
Sweet Baby Inc.
all right, whatever. So, well, okay,
Sweet Baby Inc.
I'm gonna leave. Uh, uh, so,
Sweet. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
there's a game. What do I even about? There's a game that came out called South of Midnight. It was
Yeah.
a game that I was. Well, let's just watch the trailer. I haven't.
Do you have it?
Do I want to watch the trailer or do I want to watch the? Because the way I found out about it was through the Xbox. They did like a They did like a direct kind of thing, like how Nintendo does their direct. But midnight box Direct. Go ahead for direct.
So you don't want to do the launch trailer?
I mean, I guess we could. Yeah, I haven't seen the launch trailer, so go ahead and play
Okay,
it.
let's watch it. Yeah.
There's a fine line between mercy and justice. Ain't that right, Hazel Flood? You chose a hard road for yourself.
Hazel,
You
please.
turn it down a bit.
We got a long journey ahead. I'm always fast
That is
enough.
worse. There we go.
It's not safe out there, Hazel. If I was the one missing, she wouldn't stop looking.
Crouton?
What the? And this ain't even the weirdest thing I've seen today.
I'm seeing these things. You can see strands. And now you're looking for a creature. You're a weaver, aren't you?
Hello?
There's something big out there.
Take this and go find your mama.
I'll come back.
Wait a minute. Can you replay that crocodile scene? Did you hear that?
I'll come back.
No.
You better.
I'll come back.
You better. I gotta know how this tale of Hazel ends.
Like this one.
Hazel, no!
This ends now. Mama?
Wow, that was actually better than the original trailer I saw. But so no, because when in the crocodile boss fight, it played this really cartoony sound effect.
Oh.
I was like, it just broke my immersion. But but yeah,
Yeah,
that
I mean, it's a lot of stuff happening. She's trying to find her mother, I guess, but it
well,
has
yeah,
something to do with the past for some reason. So I don't know. I don't get it.
I mean, I don't either, but I do think the game looks a lot better from this trailer than um
Yeah,
the
visually
original trailer
it's
I
okay.
saw.
I don't like the character designs. I don't like the main character. It'd be nice if they would make her pretty. I like
Yeah, I
I don't know why she looks. I don't know. She kind of looks ragged, and the character style itself, I don't care for her. So, sort of this, I don't know, kind of angular. I don't know, but yeah, but like the creatures are fascinating. Like all the different creatures she faces,
yeah.
they look very interesting. So. Um, I'm not sure what the context is. Like, I know it's like Louisiana Bayou, like something like that, right?
I mean, yeah, it looks like it's a world inspired by Louisiana Bayou, which I mean, which is cool. I
Obviously,
think,
obviously the mythologies of the South, right? Of Southern.
yeah, which I think is cool. I think my main so in the original trailer that I saw, um, the game looked a lot slower and a lot less fun, and they kept talking about like the developers kept talking about like, oh, the game is about friendship and getting along with people and you know and accepting different cultures and da da da. And I'm like, yeah, but how does the game play? And we kept talking about
Yeah,
all this
yeah,
stuff that I really don't care about. Let the game speak for itself. Like if they would
yeah,
have conveyed all that in the game, I wouldn't mind. But just hearing a bunch of people I don't know talk about friendship and tolerance and stuff. Like I don't come to a game. I don't watch a game direct for all that. So,
yeah. Fair enough.
but yeah. Also, I do. Yeah, I do. I'm not a big fan of the character design either. A big part of it. Here's the thing. Uh, the big thing that throws off uh, the character design for me is the chin. Like they gave her like this, like it's not really a double chin, but it's like they gave her a man
Yeah,
chin.
she has this sort of triangular face.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it just
that's what
looks
I'm
weird.
saying.
Like
I don't like it.
she doesn't look like a girl. So I don't know why they
Yeah,
did.
that's what I mean. I wish they would. Especially, it's funny. I saw someone comment that about a different game, but uh, complaining like why when they create African American or minority characters, they make them very plain or very ugly. And it's like, why don't you make them pretty?
Well, here's the funny part.
Can't she
Uh,
just be a pretty girl? Like,
well, here's the funny part, right? Is that like it's these same people who uh, they cry for representation and stuff like that, and they're like, oh well, we need to be able to design our own characters. But then, like when you look at this, so have you seen Street Fighter Six at all?
no,
This is Kimberly from Street Fighter Six.
she's
She is a ninja who does graffiti. She's way cuter
because
and
she's.
looks way cooler
Yeah,
than
why does she have to do graffiti though?
because she lives in the city.
Of course, because every black person.
I mean, look, however you feel about it, it's fine.
But yeah, she
But
is.
like, they made it look cool, right? Listen, I'm gonna just get this out of the way. Every, most characters, especially fighting game characters, are based off of some type of stereotype or archetype.
I get that. Yeah,
All right, so Ryu is the archetypal, over serious Japanese karate man. Chun Li is your stereotypical cute kung fu girl from action movies. Guile is your stereotypical jingoistic American patriot. Like I could go on. So it's not just Kimberly. It's not
no,
just.
it's not. It's not. I
And
agree.
here's the thing: they made it look cool, and they made it play into the gameplay, and they did it well. That's fun. It's not. It doesn't feel insulting, you know. So, however you want to feel about it, is whatever. It's
No, I
fun.
don't feel
I like.
anything. I'm just making an observation that that's what I usually see.
I mean, yeah. I
It's
mean,
always it's if it's a black character, it's always an urban black character, and all the tropes that go with it. And it's like,
sure.
why is that?
Well, because the Japanese rely on tropes. I mean, they're
No,
Japanese developed.
there aren't other tropes. That's all I'm saying. There has
No,
to be, right?
sure, but that's
Black
the
cop,
tropes.
black policeman. I don't know.
Sure, but
Fireman,
these are the
doctor.
tropes that they're familiar with. So, I mean, like, so it is what it is.
Fisherman.
But
I don't know.
here's the thing, though. People like Kimberly. Kimberly is a cool, is a really cool new character. In
Probably
my
because she seems like an authentic character, right?
Yeah, but she was designed by Japanese game developers.
Yeah.
And she has a great personality on
Right,
top of that.
because
in
they
the game.
see her as a human,
Yeah, exactly.
not a like even though there's tropes involved, right? Right, those tropes don't drive the
Yeah.
character, right?
Because there's a lot of characters that I design that fall into stereotypical tropes, like Rocket Brown. He plays basketball. Looks like a kid from the '90s.
Right,
I don't
he's a
care. I
black
don't.
athletic young male.
Yeah. So, because
Right,
that's
but
what people
this is the thing,
recognize.
though. This is the thing, right? there are also white athletic young males. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, but I
Like
mean,
it's
so
not
what?
exclusively a black trope. That's all. He's a
I know that.
character who happens to be an athlete.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying. Like that's kind of my point. Is, but yeah, if they're developing this character with an actual character personality, you know, so yeah, you understand it's an
yeah,
authentic approach. Then yeah, she's gonna be likable.
yeah. The reason I
And
bring that
that's
up,
the difference, right? Is because they put effort into the character. You know, you see it and go, "Oh, okay, I like this character," right? Because she
yeah.
has a story, and they treated her like a human. Yeah,
Well, I
not
mean, I
not a
don't know
not a
how much
chimp, not
story
a,
there is
not
in
a chimp.
Street Fighter. Well, I don't know how much story. I'm not too familiar with the story.
There's gonna be some story.
I mean, obviously, but it's a fighting game, so it's not. People
I
care
know,
more
but
about the
the
combat.
characters always have some kind of,
I know, but that's not my point. My point is that even if you don't know her story, when you initially see Kimberly, especially if you watch the trailer, she's peppy, she's got a great attitude,
right.
she's
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 likable.
she's fun, yeah, she's likable, she's
She
cute,
appears
she's appealing to look at,
like a person.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm just saying, it's like even without knowing her story, she looks appealing, she acts appealing as a character. That's all I'm saying, and I bring that up because a lot of people. There's been this thing online where I noticed a lot of people they try to blame um, the game's failure because, to my understanding, the game isn't selling well, and they try to blame
which
it
game?
on racism.
Which game?
South of Midnight, South of Midnight.
Right. Okay.
They try to blame it on racism and stuff like that,
Of course,
and it's like
it's always racism.
I know, but it's like it's not the game. If your selling point, like if the selling point of the game is, oh, it's a new setting for a fantasy world, then that's fine. But also, uh, people who are already familiar with the reputation of Baby Inc. Because they don't. Most of the games aren't successful for you know for a very good reason. They don't like the way they treat story and game development. People don't like the way they handle it. So
Right.
yeah, it was gonna fail. It's not, but it's they try to make gamers out to be more racist than they actually are, right? And just the audience
Well,
in
they
general.
they try to paint them as racist, period, even though they're not.
Yeah,
Right. And so any dislike is considered racist or sexist or both or homophobic or name your poison, right? And yeah, that is, and not only that, but they try to market the game that in that fashion where yeah, this game is for people of color, blah blah blah, representation, blah blah blah, you know. And so it's like you get the eye rolls because people are like, yeah, that doesn't make me want to play your game.
right.
Then when it fails, oh, you guys were racist and sexist and homophobic. It's like, no, you don't know how to market a game. That's all
Right,
it
right.
is. And sometimes the game itself is crap, right? And
Yeah,
that's because they inject, pronouns and things like that into the game. And it's like, yo, that's the last thing we need is, right? I mean, you understand it's like, so like, for example, with the Street Fighter, does she does she give her pronouns in her trailer?
no,
My
none of the
pronouns
characters
are
do.
they, them,
None
right?
of the
Like,
characters do.
yeah, nobody cares. That's why. You understand? Nobody. Like, why are you put? Why would you even? It's like so silly and so obviously, you know, such an obvious solution. Right? Just stop forcing and injecting this stuff into your marketing and into your content. Right? Just make good content. Make great characters. Make your gay characters. Make your female characters. But make them good characters. Make them appealing. Make them human. Right? Relatable and all this good stuff, right? Like make them interesting beyond skin color or their gender, right? And guess what? People go, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll play that game or watch that movie or whatever, right? And it's such an obvious thing, but they willfully choose to ignore it, right? Because it's
Yeah.
easy to say racism. Because if they don't, then truth be told, a company like Sweet Baby Inc. wouldn't exist. If they didn't pretend that there was oppression and there was a need to do these things, right? To inject DEI into everything, they literally wouldn't exist. They would make no money, right? It's
Yeah.
the same old. You know, way you go all the way back to Jesse Jackson, right? Operation Push and all that stuff. You know, you have to manufacture oppression to keep your business going. You know, and that's what he did and shook down all these companies and got them to pay up and hire his crony friends or whatever. That's all it is, all over again. But they've gotten more refined with it, right? You know, so we get Black Lives Matter and we get Sweet Baby Inc. You know,
Yeah.
but it's the same thing all over again. It's a grift, you know. So there has to be a boogeyman, you know. So
Yeah.
that's and it's so sinister because they'll go to these game companies and they'll say we're going to consult and help you, you know, meet the demands of inclusion and representation, blah blah blah. You know, and if you do it, hey, there's money tied to it. You would get some money for it, right, on the back end for production costs, etc. Right? You'll get
Sure, but I mean, they can't be making that money back though.
no, they're not, but
The
it
games
doesn't
aren't
matter. That's
selling
the
well.
point because the funding is coming in. That's how Hollywood is operating. They get funding for every checkbox, right? I think Doge through Elon Musk, you know, Doge, whatever, exposed some of that. You know, where they were giving money to these places in other countries, let alone here, to produce basically woke content, right? Trans-centered storytelling in comics, you know, et cetera, right? It's like it's government money, you know, and some of these places are set up as hedge funds or mutual, you know, or investment funds, whatever, and they're, you know, yeah, you got to check these boxes, you'll get $20 million, $10 million, or whatever, right? And that's how it works. So we're not the customers anymore. You understand? It's reversed. The customer are the people funding the project, and they're saying we want gender swap, we want, you know, representation, et cetera, et cetera. And if you check those boxes, we'll give you some money, right? So yeah, it's pretty nefarious. And the thing is, once they produce the product, you know, in this case, a video game, you know, when it fails, the excuse is, well, you know, there's that just proves there's racist people out there. You see, it's like this self fulfilling prophecy, right? There's racist people. We have to, you know, change it by having representation, right? Because of institutionalized oppression, whatever. And then when it fails, oh, see, institutionalized oppression, right? Racist fans, sexist fans, right? That's all it is.
But that gets very annoying because people act like we've been in a lack representation when
Right. We have
that's never
that
really
has
been
that has
true.
been true since before I was born.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
unfortunately,
if you want to go back to just the 80s or the 90s, Eddie Murphy and Samuel Jackson, respectively, were some of the highest, and Richard Pryor
highest paid,
were some of
yeah,
the highest paid
yeah.
actors in
Bill
Hollywood
Cosby for
in
crying
the
out
80s and
loud.
90s, respectively. Yeah, Bill Cosby.
Michael Jordan, right? Greatest athlete on the
Well, he's
planet.
an athlete. Yeah, I'm just talking about
I
actors,
mean,
but yeah,
I know, but I'm just saying in general sense, like Tiger Woods, you go on, right? Clearly, you know, if there's oppression happening, uh, give me some of that oppression. If Tiger Woods is oppressed, you know, I'll take some of that oppression money. You know, Michael Jordan.
I'm just talking about in like the
Actually,
entertainment
I know
industry
but it's
specifically.
all entertainment. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean that's
These
true.
are multi millionaires, but at the same time, you know, claiming oppression, right? Like Sweet Baby Inc., you know, has CEOs, executives working there making double digit six figures probably, right? And they're talking about institutionalized racism. It's like it's the most ridiculous thing, You understand? Like you're not oppressed if you're making over six figures. You know, you're definitely not oppressed, right? Regardless of what race or sex you are. But like I said, the grift is real. They got to keep it alive, right? So see, that's racism. If it doesn't succeed, it's racist. It's not because of poor marketing or terrible game dynamics or something, right? Gameplay,
Yeah,
or
because
crappy
if I'm
story.
looking at, I scoured through a few reviews, and generally, I mean, a lot of people feel the same way I do. Is the art style was great, the setting was cool, but the actual gameplay is underwhelming. And it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
that's been sort of the trend for a while. Is people keep making visually, you know, uh, high tech looking games, but with underwhelming gameplay, and they
Right.
wonder why
Yeah.
they're not making their money back.
Right. Yeah. Because they're not hyper focused on what they should be, which is creating a compelling game, right? A game that's going to pull you in and keep you there, right? Keep you engaged. So it's like, no, we got to focus on checking those boxes, right? And so the gameplay suffers, just like with movies and television shows, right? The story suffers, you know. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, like you said, the trailer looks okay. I mean, on the surface, it's like kind of like okay, I see stuff happening. Um, there's a character. I don't see anything that really resonates. At least not for me. So
Well, here's
that
the thing.
that makes me go like, oh, I gotta check this out. Like it's really not there. Um, so maybe they can do a better job of like like do a better trailer. I don't know. So
Well, I mean, I liked the trailer you just showed me. And it could just focus more on showing off the world and the gameplay. The
yeah,
other trailer,
yeah. Visually, it looks pretty decent. Yeah.
yeah, but also it doesn't help that I don't think they're going to change because the actual people running the company just they hate gamers. And this isn't like speculation; they've outright said it. The community games they have the games community manager. This is the community manager at the company. Her name's
Mhm.
Kitty Robinson. Um, she's literally come out uh, and said that she hates gamers. She's also said that white male gamers were a mistake.
Yeah. Say it again.
Wow, let me just. Uh,
I just missed that last part.
no, you're good. So it's really, so this is from Smash J. This is from Smash JT website. To really get a sense of who she is, though, look at her feed. Her tweets and retweets are both blunt and fearless. It might not be for everybody. Robinson says Robinson is okay with that. You're not going to tickle some people's fancy. Being outspoken, or tweeting things like I do when I say white male gamers were a mistake. She says so. You know,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, what do you say to that?
White gamers were a mistake. So what she really means is white gamers are great people, right? That's what she meant.
I don't.
I
Okay.
mean, but that's what I'm saying, man. Like, it's not about the customer. They're not making a game for black people or women or trans people or anybody. They're making a game for themselves to stroke their ego and to push their ideology.
Well, I've said this before, and and I'll say it again because it's the truth. When you're people, and it's annoying because people in the gaming industry, a lot of people in the gaming industry or in the entertainment industry in general, they they see themselves as artists first, and the reality is that you're not artists first. You're entertainers first and artists second, because that's your job is to entertain people. And to entertain people, you cannot be selfish. You must. It's entertainment is a service, so your job is to serve your audience. And if your artistic skills help you in that, then that's great. But your primary goal is to entertain your audience, not to serve yourself. But the problem is that a lot of people in the entertainment industry see themselves as artists first and entertainers second, if not at all. And that's why they're going to keep getting backlash, and that's why ultimately they're going to fail. So it is what it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've been failing, but they're so heavily insulated, like I said, by these dollars that are coming from these funds that are specifically for pushing that agenda. You understand? So
Yeah, the money's going to run out.
that's why they're not out of business anymore. I mean, yet because the money is just flowing. Well, yeah, eventually, it depends on how deep their pockets are, right? I mean, government funding may, slow down, right, because the being exposed, but will it stop? Probably not.
Sure, but I mean, I mean, so far, and this is just in Hollywood, apparently over half of the writers in Hollywood were just fired, basically. So, I mean, they're letting go of people with that
Well,
mentality.
yeah. I mean, but that's being driven by probably by the advancements in AI, mostly. Which is
Maybe,
gonna make things
yeah.
worse because then they don't have to rely on humans, right? They can just program an
Right,
algorithm
but
spit out
that's their own. And I don't like to. This makes me seem like victim blaming, but they brought it onto. I feel like a lot of these people who are complaining about AI taking their jobs brought it onto themselves, mainly because of their own egos. Right? Why would?
Well,
Well,
yeah, I mean,
hear me out. Why would why would a company want to deal with your ego and your selfishness in order to wait for you to do your job when they can get a robot to do your job and the robot doesn't talk back. The robot doesn't make inflammatory comments. The robot doesn't cause
well,
controversy.
I
Do
agree with
you
that.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with that. But even further, though, it's the sad irony when a lot of these artists, like writers, creators, animators, they hold to these ideologies, right? And they help push them through their writing and their art, etc., which has been happening. We just talked about with Sweet Baby Inc. and this what is it called again? South of Midnight Game, and other games, right?
Yeah.
They're cheering this on, right? And then they insult the fans when they don't like it, right? And treat us like we're dumb, like we're uncultured or something, we're bigots, right? And now, the turns of table, right? You're getting laid off
Yeah.
in the place for AI. In the AI, they're going to make the AI do exactly what you were doing freely, right? Which is puppet this ideology nonsense, right? Ideological nonsense. And instead of having the common sense to say, you know what, maybe what I'm championing isn't logical, isn't reasonable, and isn't moral, right? You understand? Maybe I
Yeah.
shouldn't champion it, or even better, I can believe it, but maybe I don't have to inject it in everything I do, right? Maybe I don't have to post comments on Twitter, like Rachel Ziegler and her, free Palestine stuff in the midst of promoting her movie, right? Like maybe I shouldn't do that, right?
Yeah.
No, you did it. You said you went whole cloth, whole hog wild, and said I'm gonna wear my heart on my sleeve and I'm gonna put my ideology out there, and I don't care how ridiculous it is. You're just a bigot.
Right.
And now you want to blame AI, and it's like it's not AI's fault, right?
No.
It's your fault for yes, believing the wrong things, not exercising just basic common sense on most of these things, right? Because if you were putting out exceptional content, right? And being an exceptional artist, an exceptional writer, exceptional director, etc., right? Um, you will probably have a fighting chance. You follow what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
but instead, it's this pretentiousness that just is so overwhelming throughout Hollywood with a lot of this stuff. And recently, more recently, Rachel Zegler has become the poster child of it, but it's been going on way before her. You know,
Yeah.
and it's like, what are you guys doing? Like, you're just making people not like you. Like, the age of the celebrity is gone. There's no movie stars anymore, like superstars.
I
They
agree.
don't exist anymore. Period. Like, they don't. Like, there's remnants like Tom Cruise, right? He's still around. He won't be around for long. He's doing the last Mission Impossible, right? So
Wasn't the last Mission Impossible supposed to be the last Mission Impossible?
yeah, no. It's in two parts. So the second one
Ah,
is
okay.
coming out, and I believe this is the last one. So,
Gotcha.
but you understand what I mean? Like, not that he's gonna retire. I don't know what he's gonna do. I'm just saying there's remnants, Denzel Washington, etc. And even he's kind of gone off the rails a bit recently. But you follow what I'm saying? It's like the idea of the movie star and like them having any type of credibility is almost like zero. Like it's very fringe now. Like, who's really looking at a celebrity and going, you know what? I'm gonna listen to this guy. Like no, people listen to people who make sense. It's simple as that, who that resonates with them, and that goes for either
Well, it's not even just
whatever kind of
about
ideology. But
resonating.
but
A
if
lot of
you're
people.
if you're going off the rails consistently, right? You understand? It's like, and you're
Right, but
just
it's not
becoming
just about
unlikable.
resonating, though. It's not just about resonating. A
It
lot of the
is when it
reason,
comes to
no,
being a celebrity. It is. That's all
well,
I'm
no, it's
saying.
not. It's about a lot of a big reason why a lot of people looked up to uh, celebrities in the past is because we knew very little about them. There was an air of mystique about them. There was a separation between actors and civilians, for lack of a better word, where a
Yeah,
big
I
part
agree
of
with
it.
that. And I'm
So
not
there was
saying
a
that wasn't the case. What I'm saying is that's kind of where I'm getting to is you want to, like I said, wear your heart on your sleeve. Do you understand? Where it's like, I'm just gonna put it all out there, and I don't care who gets offended. I don't care. I have this platform, blah blah. And it's like,
sure,
okay,
but Tom
the
Cruise does a
consequences
lot
of
of the
that.
same things, but he also doesn't.
Well,
He
yeah, but
keeps
he
it
doesn't
separate from
mix
his
business with
movies.
pleasure, right? That's what I'm saying. And really, he's not as outspoken as compared to a lot of
I,
other people.
I disagree, but he's not
No, he's
outspoken
not.
when it comes. Well, no, I mean he's not outspoken when it comes to in relation to
His
killing
movies.
movies,
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying.
he keeps it. But he is outspoken just as
He's
an
been outspoken over
individual.
the years. But what I'm saying is he's compared to a lot of more current
Like he
day stuff,
doesn't
not
conflate
not
his
really
personal values with his
with
acting
his
career.
work. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like I said,
Like he's not
if
trying to
you
promote Scientology in Mission Impossible. You know what I'm saying?
well, I wouldn't say that. I would say though
Whoa.
it's not blatant. No, seriously, it's not blatant. Do you understand? It's not blatant. It's not so obvious. He's not just checking boxes. He's
I
saying,
guess
I'm
I
going
don't
to
know.
tell the most compelling story possible. And while I'm at it, maybe I can throw in like some of my ideology. I don't know. Because every writer does that, right? Every creator
Right,
does
but
that.
he's not the one writing
So
the Mission
he's,
Impossible movies.
he's what? What'd you say?
Yeah, right, but is he the one writing the Mission Impossible
He's
movies?
definitely part of the creative process. You
I
understand? He's
guess.
part
I
of
don't
telling the story. But I'm just saying, but don't assume he's not putting his worldview in there. Of course he is, right? But he's wrapping it. He's wrapping a great story and adventure around it. Does that
know.
make sense? Where it's kind of hidden in there, you know. And that's all I'm saying. Like it's more subtle and it's more. And I'm not saying he literally is. I mean, but I'm saying, of course, it reflects his worldview to some degree. You follow what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that can't really be helped all the time. Even when you're trying to write something that is contrary to your worldview, you're still pouring your worldview into that, right? Like you understand what I'm saying? Like you're like Rorschach is a good example where what was I forget the writer's name. With the character being very well liked, well loved, right, by a lot of fans, right, in the Watchmen, but he was intended to be more of a mocking type of character, right? He was meant to mock
Which
that
one?
type of character, Rorschach,
Oh
in
yeah, yeah.
Watchmen, and even I think was it Alan Moore, I think, right? Even he's admitted that, right? He wasn't supposed to be a character that you liked and that you celebrated, but yet he was the most principal character in the story,
Yeah.
and that resonated with most people who read it. Right? Most of the fans are like, "Yeah, Rorschach is dope." And he's like, "Well, you're not supposed to like Rorschach. He was kind of just a mockery of that type of person, right? This vigilante who has this principle of protecting children and being ideologically consistent, et cetera, right? Even in the face of his losing his own life, right? That's why he ends up getting killed. But he sees it as, see, I'm writing him in an ironic way, and we're going, no, that makes sense. So even his worldview of what a principled person is, right, a moral person, right, still resonated with moral people, which is the opposite of what he was going for. Isn't that crazy? Right? You understand what I'm saying? Like, so you can't help it as a writer or creator. You're gonna but even your worldview. The problem is a lot of people don't see how their own ideologies contradict reality, right? So they think, just like Ron Swanson in Parks and Recs, right? He was written to mock conservatives and libertarians, and yet his character was very conservative and libertarian to the point where he became a very favorable character, right? People liked him because they thought,
Yeah.
yeah, I like Ron, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
Ron is principled and he's consistent, right? And he don't take no mess. It's like, so I want to be Ron, right? But that wasn't the purpose, right? The purpose was, we're going to make fun of libertarians, right? But in doing so, they actually help create, make the argument for it, right? If you watch some of those episodes, they literally make an argument for libertarianism without even realizing it.
yeah, yeah.
Barbie's another example, where it was this feminist wet dream.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Ken, yeah.
Yeah, but with Ken, it actually helped demonstrate visually the arguments against feminism, right? You understand? Like,
Yeah.
was that the intent? I'm pretty sure that wasn't, right? But there it is. It's there in the movie, right? And speaking of Barbie, the director, I think, of Barbie is now going to be doing Chronicles of Narnia, working with Netflix.
Oh, it's the same people.
Yeah,
Oh, that makes a lot more sense. I hate it.
she's actually leading that project with Netflix, and that's going to be the last thing we talk about today. Actually, is Chronicles of Narnia and how they're talking about gender swapping Aslan by having
Really, this is
Meryl
bad.
Streep be the voice of Aslan instead of you know
I don't even
a
know who that
male
is.
she's an old school actress. She's been around a long time. I think she's won some like an Oscar or so. You know. I mean, she's a great actress. I don't have any problem with her as an actress.
Well,
But
that's
yeah,
fine. I just
it is disappointing though that this has come to be a thing, right? To race swap a character that's supposed to represent uh, Christ, right? And you're saying no, we're going to make it a woman, right? It's it's complete foolishness, you know, and it's a mockery, and I honestly believe that's the point. Right? I don't
I
think
mean,
there's any type of deep statements being made here. It's really on the surface level. It's just it's juvenile. It's just saying I'm as good as you are, right?
I mean, they're doing the same thing with. Apparently, I never saw it. The Jesus Christ Superstar. I guess they're making another film
Yeah, that's right. They're going to
with
cast a woman. Yeah, I forgot her name. Cynthia Erivo, something like
yeah,
that.
Cynthia Erivo, yeah,
Yeah, she's supposed to be playing Jesus Christ.
and it's
It's a mockery. That's the goal. They know it's salacious. They know what they're doing, and they're gonna do it
well,
because
I
they
mean,
know it's
people.
going
The problem is that people don't think it's a big deal because they
no. That's People do think it's a big deal. That's why
Your
you get
average
the backlash
person,
you get.
I mean, I get it, but I really don't believe, I really don't believe people think it's as big as a deal because my point is that a lot of people don't really understand how ingrained biblical principles are into our most celebrated stories, right? So they're taking, because they're purposely taking the story of C.S. Lewis, and they're making a mockery of it when the Chronicles of Narnia and a lot of his other stories, right? The Space Trilogy, um, some of his nonfiction works, Mere Christianity, Problem with Pain, very celebrated works, right? Obviously, his most celebrated book is the Chronicles of Narnia. Same thing, J.R.R. Tolkien, right? Lord of the Rings,
Yeah,
a lot of biblical principles in that
of
story,
course. I mean, yeah,
and but it's like people don't realize that like uh, many of the most celebrated stories that we value here, in especially in America and the West, are based off of Christian values, biblical values, right? We just there's we, we're post Snow White reboot, right? And you know, people were upset when Rachel Zegler made her comments about you know the movie and the premise being evidently dated, right? Not understanding the actual purpose and point of the story, right? Because people like her who just see it as a old movie, it's like, oh, it's just about you know the prince saving the princess and that's it. And no, it's not about. It's not just about the prince saving the princess. The point, the premise of Snow White is about living righteously in spite of your suffering, right? Snow White throughout the movie, she's brave and fair and true and all that stuff, in spite of the queen trying to murder her, in spite of getting essentially having to run away from home and being lost in the middle of nowhere, in spite of being homeless, right? And in spite of and ultimately she ends up dying, right? And she's awakened by the prince's kiss, and she lives happily ever after. That's an allegory for Christ. The prince represents Christ,
right, of
right?
course.
In Romans,
And Snow White is the bride of Christ. Yeah,
yeah, in Romans chapter 8, verse 17. Now, if we are children, then we are heirs of God, and co-heirs with
there's with
Christ.
Christ. Yeah,
If needed, we share in his sufferings in order that we may also share in his glory.
right.
Which, in the context of Snow White, is they lived happily ever after, right? That's the point of Snow White. And say what you want about Walt Disney, the person, you know, as I know he's a controversial figure, right? I mean, in hindsight, but you can't deny the fact that Walt Disney and his team of Imagineers and animators had a talent for connecting with the average person, right? And it shows in their stories. And we could go with modern movies as well. We just finished watching not Optimus Prime, but Transformers One,
Yeah,
right? And even the
very
Transformers
biblical.
series in general.
Yeah,
Like literally in the original Transformers cartoon,
yeah,
Optimus Prime dies.
and it's resurrected.
The man is resurrected in the third season, right?
Yeah,
And the Rodimus Prime and his team have to carry on the mantle on his mission in his stead while he's gone, right?
right.
Jesus the Great
Like
Commission,
disciples. Yeah,
right? And then you could also in Transformers One, right? You could draw parallels with Orion Pax and we call him Megatron. I don't remember his original
oh,
name.
Megatron. I know, huh?
with Megatron with Jesus and Barbarous, right? Many
And
of the Jews,
Barabbas, yeah.
Barabbas, yeah. Many of the people,
Well, Megatron represents the fall of Satan.
right? I understand that, but
He
like,
begins
think about
temptation.
it this way, Dad.
Optimus Prime represents Christ and resurrection,
No, I get that, but think
self-sacrifice.
about it that the people or many of the robots chose to side with Megatron because Megatron was a
That's true. Yeah.
revolutionary, and who was Barabbas in in the in the New Testament? He was a revolutionary, caused riots and stuff like that. He was a murderer, but he rebelled against the Roman Empire. So people value Barabbas more than they did Christ.
They value rebellion over
Exactly.
sacrifice and discipline. Yeah.
They
I mean, you're
that,
right.
that,
You're on the
that's
roll, and that's the problem, though. Is and I don't think
you
it's
get
just that people aren't aware of it. I think people have grown cynical towards it for sure, and I think also there's a zeitgeist that exists right now uh, that favors feminism, right? And because it's so ingrained in so many things that a lot of people look at, casting a woman for Jesus or a female voicing a character that is traditionally male and represents God, and think that it's progressive, and think that somehow that's a positive thing for women or for society, and it's not. Right? It's the exact opposite. It's a further erosion of society, right? Because you're diminishing the role of God in our hearts and in our minds, right? And it's being done very, very, a little bit at a time, right? And that's what makes it problematic. And we have to articulate that so that people become aware of it. That hey, this is a problem because it's not just this one movie, right? It's the collective of movies and content that are constantly digging away, chipping away at the foundation
yeah, and it's not just
society, which is
westerns,
Christ.
and it's not just Western stories either, because
No, it's not.
the
Yeah,
truth,
it's not.
God's written the truth in our hearts, right? My Hero Academia, right? Deku literally has a power that's called one for all, right?
Right.
And how does he earn it? He has to
Let's
sacrifice
sacrifice
his
himself.
body, right?
Yeah,
He has to tear apart his body, right? And
right.
doing his
It
intent in
says
order
Christ
to earn
says
the
my
battle.
body was broken, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
and even
listen.
even
It's right there, laid plain before us. But
well,
like I
but
said,
people, here's the thing:
people,
kids who grow up watching these stories aren't going to realize it, though. That's what I'm
no,
saying.
but they will realize it eventually.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
but I'm
It's
just
just as the Antichrist messaging chips away at our foundation, right? The Christ messaging in these stories adds a brick over time, and as we see them repeated over and over in different stories in different fashion, right, through music, etc., right, we'll become aware. We'll realize, oh, right? We're going to see it even as, excuse me, speaking for myself, realizing the story of Optimus Prime and everything as I got older,
yeah,
seeing the parallel with Christ, seeing the parallel with Christ and Superman, right? And any other sacrificial hero, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
you're going to see it. Excuse me. And that's the whole point is when you have stories like Chronicles of Narnia and Lord of the Rings, right?
yeah,
They're reinforcing and building up that foundation, right? And creating that awareness within us.
yeah,
Just as the inverse is they're chipping away at it. They're trying
yeah.
to erode it.
And just to circle everything back to Dragon Ball, right? And I told this to my students in Sunday school, and I pointed this out, is that in the Cell Saga, this is such a weird thing, but in the Cell Saga, right, where Goku ends up Goku and Gohan end up, defeating Cell. Goku has to, sacrifice himself to save the Earth, and then, he leaves his son behind to finish the job, right, and defeat Cell and to save the Earth. And but the thing is that nobody actually knows that Goku and Gohan saved the world. Instead, the credit for saving the Earth after the Cell Saga goes to Mr. Satan. His name is literally Mr. Satan
Yeah.
in the original Japanese thing, right? So people think that Satan saved the world instead of the actual hero, like that, like,
Yeah.
and he's the great deceiver. It's and that's literally his character in the show. He's like like he has this like uh this fake wrestling persona, right? He's a phony. That's kind of the joke of his character, is that he's a phony, right? He's a deceiver. His name's Mr.
Right.
Satan. Like that.
Yeah.
That's not. I don't think that's accidental. Like I don't know.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. But see, the problem is some people will try to gaslight you and say, "Oh, it's just a movie. It's just a cartoon. It's just a this. It's just a that." Or it's not. It's not made for you. It's made for kids. It's not made for grown men or something. Like all this nonsense. And it's like, look, if we don't say it, then no one will. It has to be said and it has to be pointed out when these things happen because it's very dangerous, right? And you don't want your kids watching this stuff because, like I said, it chips away at that truth that's within them, right? And that's a problem. You understand? Because now you're dealing with their soul. Whether you believe in God or not or Christ, listen, the truth is the foundation of any society, right? And when you allow lies to creep in and deteriorate the foundation of truth, you're gonna have problems. It's not a coincidence that we're seeing so many issues going on in the world today, especially in this country, and it
yeah,
all
and
stems
and,
from
and,
a weak moral foundation within the family.
and I
I
want to
mean, period.
prefix this by saying, like, we're not coming from a place of superiority, right? We all
No,
fall.
not
We
at
all
all. Yeah,
we all
it's not
fall
about
short in the glory of
it's
God.
not about it's not about being superior or perfect. It's about acknowledging and understanding what is true.
Yeah,
You understand? It's like a car that's run down and old. It's still a car. It's going to drive and get you from A to B, right?
yeah,
It's not about the car being perfect. It's like, is it functional and is it real? Is it going to work? And that's the reality of it, right? It's like we're not saying we're superior or better. We're saying, yeah, but there is a way that is true,
yeah,
right? So our goal is to stay as close to that truth as possible, right? It's just like if you're out in the cold wilderness, right? You build a campfire. What's the goal? The goal is to stay as close to that fire as possible, right?
yeah,
Right? Because if you stray too far away, you're gonna freeze. You're gonna freeze
yeah,
it. Right? That's kind of, and it also acts as a beacon. You're gonna know where you are, right? It's a light. So, and that's what we're talking about. Don't stray too far from the light. And when these types of stunts, because that's what they are. They're stunts. They're publicity stunts. When they do these types of things, the goal is, yeah, publicity, marketing, attention, virility online, but it's also ultimately to deteriorate what is true and to mock God, basically. They are literally enemies of God. And it's true. It sounds harsh, but that's true. You look at what is his name? Is Robert Kirkland, right? He's the creator of um, Walking Dead, right? And
oh, yeah. I know you're talking
Invincible and
about.
stuff, right? I mean, I think he's openly said that, like he hates God, right? No, it's not him. It's the guy that did Rick and Morty. I forgot his name. The guy that created Rick and Morty.
Well, I mean, I think of the guy who created The Boys.
Oh, I think is that maybe it is him.
Yeah, because you might be thinking of yeah, Eric.
Eric Kripke.
Yeah, Eric Kripke.
Okay.
Because he
Yeah.
he talks about how he hates superheroes and what they
Yeah.
stand
Yeah.
for and stuff like that.
Oh, maybe it's not him then. I mean, he's definitely among them, but he's not who I was thinking of.
Oh,
I'll,
okay.
I'll figure it out. But yeah, it's like a lot of these guys, these creators, they do hate God. They hate Christ. They hate what is true. And that's why a lot of these people, like I said, I've always made this contention with the fall of the Marvel universe and even DC is that a lot of these creators that are involved, they have a very cynical perception of superheroes, and to the point that they hate superheroes. and
Yeah, I mean that's why they
that's why
portray
they
him as
handle it.
jokes.
Yeah, exactly. They treat them as jokes. They treat it as they're very depressed. They're like it's a very cynical, nihilistic perception that they inject into a lot of these stories. That's why they love going the dark route because it gives them leeway to inject very depressing concepts, right? Death and destruction, despair. You know, so that's just something to understand. Like they do hate what is true. They do hate God, and that's what drives a lot of this stuff. And it's not acknowledged in the public sphere very much, right? In the mainstream, especially even online and YouTube. A lot of these YouTubers who rail against a lot of this stuff, they stop short of saying they hate God. They hate what is true. They don't just like feminists don't just hate men. They hate God, right? Because God is a man. God is male. You understand? So they want to make God female, right? You understand? Because they
Yeah.
hate men. They hate male, right?
So
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, just to end on a positive note, one of the games that I recently just beat with the help of my brother. Shout out to my brother is Earthbound. I told you about Earthbound,
Yeah, yeah.
and one of the things that we both enjoyed about the game Earthbound. It's for those who haven't played it. It's a Super Nintendo RPG from the '90s. Came out in '94. Great game. It's one of my all-time favorite Super Nintendo games. Probably my new favorite RPG next to Paper Mario. But I digress. But it was created by Shigesato Itoi, a great story writer. And one of the things that we found powerful about the game is one of the game mechanics in the game. This is a sci-fi game, by the way. One of the game
Yeah,
mechanics
it's very
in
weird.
the game is prayer. There's a character named Paula, and her whole thing is she's an optimist. She's literally based off of a character named Pollyanna. I don't know if you ever heard of Pollyanna.
Have I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the story. It's a story about being optimistic, and one of her moves is prayer. And when she prays, it buffs up the other characters.
Yeah.
And in the story where you have to travel to the past to defeat an alien that came from the future by inserting your brain into robots, so you don't accidentally kill yourselves in by traveling in this time machine, and you fight the final boss, and you literally defeat the final boss through the power of prayer. All of your psychic moves don't work, all of your weapons don't work, but when Paula begins to pray, all of the friends and family that they met along the way, they hear a prayer, and then they pray along with her. And then at the end of the game, she speaks to the player. She asks you to pray,
Mm,
and then the boss is defeated.
that's pretty dope.
And it made me cry. I'm crying right now. But it's just,
Beautiful.
and it was such a cool moment, and it came out of nowhere for me. And because like I tried beating, like I lost to the boss like 5 times, and I had no idea what to do. And then and finally I just kept hitting the prayer button, and it's like a scary boss fight. I've never been so like afraid. Fun fact: the design for the boss in Final Boss in Earthbound was inspired by a traumatic event from Itoi's childhood, where he accidentally went to the wrong movie as a kid, and he witnessed what he thought was a rape scene, but was actually much worse. It was a serial killer dismembering a woman.
Wow.
And so he designed, and it gave him nightmares. And so the boss, his design was based off his nightmares from watching that movie as a kid. So it's pretty nuts.
The things that inspire us, huh?
So that's how like terrifying these bosses, right? And so yeah, it's nuts because and like that type of stuff is seen all throughout the game. Not necessarily the horror imagery, but more so the once again those biblical principles, right? Like the main character's name's Ness, right? Throughout the game, he's defeating these bosses, and many of the bosses they're bosses that fell into temptation, right?
Yeah.
Um, where they because the main villain, his name's Geiger, he's an alien. He in the future he conquers Earth, and so you know, uh, someone from the future goes to the past to warn Ness, and so Ness goes on this journey and meets a bunch of friends. It's like the best way I can describe it. It's Stranger Things meets Lord of the Rings. That's the best way I
Hmm.
can describe it. And so um, Ness, before he fights the final boss, he has to enter his own psyche and defeat the evil inside him,
Wow. I like that.
right? And the boss, and so like it's very interesting because throughout the game, Ness doesn't really do anything particularly evil. He just kind of acts like a kid for the most part, silent protagonist. So it's very interesting that the game is like, all right, well, before you defeat the great evil, you have to defeat the evil inside yourself. And after you do that, you unlock your most powerful moves. And I think that, and the way that the evil is, and it's crazy. The Mahi statue. The way the evil is presented in Earthbound is this particular statue. Yeah, the evil Mani Mani statue. Does this look familiar, Dad?
Makes me think of like Baphomet,
Well, that too, but what is the statue
like the
like?
Oscars.
Like the Oscars,
Yeah.
right? So all the main thing that connects a lot of the villains that you fight is that they all end up being tempted by the evil Mani Mani statue. Now, Mani Mani in Japanese roughly translates to at the mercy of
Wow.
or by the order of, right? And so they're at the mercy of, you know, the devil, right? Mani Mani no Akuma. Akuma literally means evil or devil. So also, the word money is very similar to money. So all like it's all on purpose, right? And
Yeah.
so like because the guy and it's crazy because right because Gygas doesn't attack you direct doesn't attack the people directly. Instead, he traveled to the past and planted the statue, right, to influence the consciousness of men throughout the game. So it's really like it's on the nose, but it's also like it's it's still very clever at the same time. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's it's such a it made for such a great and compelling story, right? Because like you're facing all this weird stuff, all this sci-fi stuff is happening.
Hmm.
Get attacked by zombies at a circus. You meet a guy who turned himself into a dungeon. You you got to fight a giant alien made out of barf. You know, you literally have to fight uh, uh, an alien who becomes the manifestation of evil. And like you end up saving the world not through science or any technology or any psychic abilities, but through prayer and defeating the evil inside you. And I think the game makes a powerful statement just from that.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, and so I can't stress this enough. Like, um, it's many, if not most, of the greatest stories are great because of uh, biblical principles, right? I mean, at the end of the day, right? You said it earlier, right? The job of a story is to tell the truth, right? And
That's right. Yeah.
um, uh, when people can sense when a story is not being truthful, right? When like that, why like it's why people resonate with good triumphing over evil, the guy getting the girl, the girl finding true love. Like people assume that women don't want to find true love. Like it's like everybody wants to find true love. It's like it's not a bad thing, you know.
Right.
It's like yeah, but it's like no, it's funny because this is more of a tangent because like you could tell which stories resonate with people just by being at Comic Con, right? Nobody out of all the Star Wars cosplays we saw, I didn't say anybody dressing up as Rey or
It's true.
they're all dressing up as Darth Vader and Darth Maul and Han Solo and all that stuff like that.
Yeah, Luke Skywalker. Yeah.
Nobody was dressing up as any of the new
Chewbacca.
characters,
Saw
and
a
there's a
couple
reason
of
for that.
Chewbacca's.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that because those stories told the truth, and the truth resonates with people, no matter what you think. So
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And when we say tell the truth, it's not just about telling a truth, as in like the theme of the
well, there is
story.
no
It's
truth.
part of it.
People,
No, listen, it's also that the story represents something that we intuitively understand to be true. You understand? So that's why we call it tropes and all this stuff, right? But that's why those things resonate and work with us when we see it repeated throughout movies, like themes and tropes, right? It's like it works that way because they resonate with us. And they resonate with us because we understand that there's something intuitively true about it.
yeah,
Right? Whatever that thing is, whatever the character is, whatever the situation, even a story that has twists and unexpected turns, right? That just makes it all the more richer for us because then ultimately those twists and turns, when we reflect or experience them, we're like, oh yeah, like that resonates, right? Like,
yeah,
oh, we get it. And that's what I mean when I say a story tells the truth.
right,
That's why stories that are poorly done and stories that are that are poorly done for whatever reason, right? That's why we don't like them, right?
yeah,
Because they fail to resonate that intuitiveness within us for us to say, oh yeah, I'm connecting, right? It's
right,
there. I get that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
recognize that to be true, right? And it doesn't matter if it's a fantasy story or a sci-fi or a soap opera, right? And animation. It's just that there has to be something in there that kind of hooks us in, and that hook is a sense of what's true, right? No matter how crazy that character can be, like you look at a lot of anime, and like sometimes the main protagonist could be, you know, the most strangest, have the strangest thing happening to them, right? I remember
yeah.
watching one where the guy had an alien that possessed his body, and it was supposed to possess him completely, but he stopped it right at his hand. Right, he did something.
Oh yeah, you're talking
Yeah,
about
and it was hilarious because then the hand started talking and he couldn't control it. Right, and it's so funny, right? And but it made me watch because I thought, okay,
yeah. You're talking about Parasite. Yeah,
yeah, Parasite. And I was like, there's something about this, right? And I'm getting it. It resonates, right? And the more I watched it, the more I enjoyed it. But that's through character development, right? Like it became this buddy movie, basically,
yeah,
right? This hand talking hand that wanted to kill everything it saw, right?
yeah,
That failed to possess a human, unlike his counterparts, right?
yeah.
It's like we get all that. Those are things we understand, right? Failure, like Invader Zim. Invader Zim is a good example where
Oh yeah, yeah,
he's supposed to invade Earth and take it over, and instead he ends up being a kid in grade school.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, 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 yeah,
this
yeah.
nemesis who's just a human boy, right?
Yeah, that was a
It's
good
so
show, yeah.
funny, but it's like, why do we like it? Because it resonates, right? Because there's a truth in there, right? Of, like failure and trying to prove yourself and trying to impress your superiors, your boss or your parents or whoever, right? Like there's a dynamic at play that we recognize, no matter how outrageous it may appear to be, right? That's what makes a good story, right? And that's really like the bare bones, right? Is there's something in there that hooks us in, and we go, yeah, okay, right? I accept this. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when it fails to do that, that's when the story fails, right? And that's why a lot of the stuff that we're seeing is failing on so many levels because they're failing to tell the truth. Simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, I've mentioned it before. Ninja Turtles. It's a movie about genetically mutated turtles doing karate, but it's also about the importance of fatherhood. Right? All fathers love their sons. You know, Master Splinter. April O'Neil's dad. Danny, his dad. It's a movie about father. That's why it resonates with people, right?
Yeah.
So it's these basic truths, and it was Ernest Hemingway that where that quote came from. It was in his introduction to Men at War, and I'll end it here. A writer's job is to tell the truth. His standard of fidelity to the truth should be so high that his invention, out of his experience, should produce a truer account than any factual can be. And that was Ernest Hemingway, 1942, writing Men at War.
Nice.
Yeah. So, what do you guys? How do you guys feel about storytelling? What are some biblical parallels that you may have found in stories? Do you agree or disagree? Just let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, definitely. And so we're way past 12, and we're gonna call it a day. That's pretty much all we had to talk about. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for engaging with us. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time. We appreciate it. And check out the site, supergalacticfantastic.com. Join our email list. And when you do, you get a free 12-page full color digital comic. And once you get it, read it and let us know what you thought. At the end of the comic, it's going to be a place where you can like it or, and make comments if you want. So let us know if you like it, or if you don't, let us know so we can make it better. So we appreciate any feedback. And but yeah, that's it for today, and make it a super galactic day.
We'll see you around.